All right, this is a two-part series called Being Free. If I don't get it this week, I've got next week to give it another shot, all right? Being free. The aim of this today is to empower a more dynamic realization of our true potential and our opportunities for spiritual mastery. Now, it's pretty clear to me that there are times when each and every one of us stumble over ourselves. The list for me is extensive, very, very long. I was thinking this week of back in 1988, I'd met and fallen in love with Erica. We'd set the date, her family flew out, and I was excited to introduce her mom and dad to the congregation. And what do? But I get up there and I call her father by the wrong name. I said, Bill and Millie Smith. I said, oh, wait a minute, Bob and Millie Smith. Well, the congregation got a kick out of my suffering, because that's sometimes how you are. They just howled, and I wanted to find a rock to crawl under. But the good news is that beloved Dr. Bob, a man who, by the way, he and Millie are watching online right now. I love you guys. But Dr. Bob, over the years, I have loved that man so much. But it began when he found it hilarious also and forgave me. So we could go ahead and get married. Yeah, my stumbling over myself is a long and storied tradition. And I believe that's true for you too. I do. Now, the most troubling times when we stumble over ourselves are those times when we give our power and possibilities away to people or circumstances, thus essentially agreeing to enter into their prison, to become a prisoner. Now, I'm talking about the times when we yield to the hindrances, the frustrations, the setbacks, the heartbreaks in life. Times when we feel constrained and confined, chained, whether it's to nagging problems or difficult people. Maybe it's a painful past we think will always haunt us. Sometimes we feel in prison to a decision we made that we regret and we feel is insurmountable. Or maybe it's an ongoing personal pattern that continues to sabotage us time and time again. Now, the tendency, if we're facing any of that or anything else like that, is to begin to identify ourselves as a captive to that situation. And it's made even more limiting when we make excuses for what's going on, and we defend how stuck we are and how powerful and imposing the situation is. We argue for that, and as has been said, argue for your limitations, and they're yours. They're yours. Now, from the outset here, beautiful ones, with all my heart, I invite you to take this in, that freedom is the birthright and the essence of every one of us, now and unto forevermore, no matter what we face. Being free is both a calling and a power within every one of us. I'm going to ask this wonderful AV team to put up some words by our founder, Dr. Holmes, Ernest Holmes. Take these in. He wrote, "Declare your freedom. Know that no matter what others may say, do, or think, you are a success now, and nothing can hinder you from accomplishing your good. All the power of the universe is with you. Feel it, know it, and then act as though it were true." It's a great statement, and he's hinting at some tremendous power. But hear this. To access this tremendous inner power he speaks of requires that we must claim and activate our free spirit while we're in the very midst of whatever we have felt has imprisoned us. Whatever we felt or feel is confining us, constricting us, limiting our lives. Yes, right in the midst of the hardships, the apparent failure, the deep and challenging path, whatever it might be. We're called in the midst of that to get back in touch with something we've never lost, we may have turned our back on, but that we are free spirit, getting back to being free. Now, if we determine that our freedom and our greater empowerment waits for people and situations to change, then we're just going to stay stuck. We'll stay stuck. I continue to be tremendously inspired and humbled by this man. This man is Viktor Franco, the Austrian psychologist, philosopher, and Holocaust survivor. Now, in his epic, renowned book, Man's Search for Meaning, he talks about what he went through in the Nazi concentration camp and the great horror and the agony that took him to what he felt were his limits, although he discovered there was more in him. And we'll talk more next Sunday about that. But the thing about him, and that he writes about, is he had a moment when in the midst of all that agony, he had a breakthrough realization that he put in these words. Everything can be taken from a person, but one thing, the last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. And then he went on to say later on, what a man actually needs is not a tensionless state, or I would say a problem-free state, but rather the striving for some goal worthy of him. So powerful. Everything can be taken except our ability to choose our attitudes. Now, I think that there are some folks who suffer from psychosclerosis, which is a hardening of the attitudes. And that's something, though, that there is a remedy for, thank God. You see, Franco seized upon his inner freedom while still in that horrific experience. You see, gang, they couldn't take being free from him. And nothing can take being free from you and me. Not really. Oh, we can imagine ourselves constrained, imprisoned, chained. But the ember of our free spirit glows on. God, and it waits to be fanned into a flame, and that's what I want to do today. Absolutely. Now, most of us have not had as dire an experience as Franco's. Yet I'm sure every one of us has had our very trying, very difficult, very hurtful times. Times that may have brought us to our knees. The wind out of our sails. And we don't know what to do. Maybe that's what brought you to church today. Is that you need that something that can help you. Not just stand up, but step forth. And what I really want you to know is that what we're talking about today is not some abracadabra that's going to magically dissolve all the challenges or problems. No. But what this is about today is about an awareness and practices that can restore us to the experience of being free. And out of that, we then can exercise at a higher level our sacred capacity for choosing, for deciding what shall go on within us, no matter what's going on around us or to us. That's what it's about. And then when we realize that we have this God-given ability, we reorient ourselves to life itself. And we find that there can be new strength, new insight, new inspiration. And oftentimes, it's the opening through which good things can begin to happen. It's what gave Franco the power to maintain, and then later on to serve. It can work for you and me too. So this brings us to the first of 3 steps of empowerment I want to offer us today. And the first one is, actualize your free spirit now. Whatever's going on for you today, I invite you during this time together right here to actualize that free spirit energy within you. It can lead you forward. It can lift you up. You see, freedom is not a state of affairs, it's a state of heart. And freedom is not the result of improved or changed conditions. It's the demonstration of transformed awareness. That's what our freedom is. And in the very midst of the turmoil of life, I invite you to make a sacred pilgrimage. A sacred pilgrimage to your center, to the inner sanctuary. I invite you to feel like you're going there right now. To a space in you so pure, not invaded by anything else. A space where there's light. There's an energy we want, we need. It's that space where we can commune with God's idea of us. Not what the world has said or our fears proclaim, but God's idea of us as magnificent beyond measure. God's idea of us as free and ever-evolving consciousness. And we come upon this, and we have the realization, as has been written, that yes, we're in the world of effects, the world of dense matter, the world of change and of challenge. But we're not of it. I am in this world, but I'm not of it. And as I pray that you're sensing that space of free energy, free life within you, uncluttered, unlimited, as you sense that, I invite you to anchor it and expand it by celebrating it. Yeah, in the midst, it seems outrageous, but in the midst of problems, challenges, heaviness, hardship, there's power in celebrating something deeper and greater in you. And there'll be people who think you're crazy, but that's all right. The world is needful of crazy people like that, like you. Celebrate. You know, the Israelites in the Babylonian captivity suffered at the hands of the Babylonians. And after days of slave labor, they would still creep down to the riverside and they would take instruments, lyres, harps out of the reeds and the willows, and they would play music and they would dance. Because their bodies were enslaved, but their spirits remained free. And they celebrated that. Paul and Silas were beaten up by the Romans and tossed into jail, but they sang praises to the divine, and an earthquake happened, and it blew open the doors of the prison, and they and all the other prisoners were set free, which indicates that they were probably terrible singers, or that they had found a key to unleashing the power of a freedom within them that could never be limited nor constrained. And I want that for us. Take a risk to feel it right now. And let's proclaim it. I've got a couple of affirmations that we can speak our word about this. Let's share this one together. I am free and magnificent spirit right now. Now, this next time, I want you to say it with feeling to your heart. All right, again. I am a free and magnificent spirit right now. Yeah, let that sink in. And then I offer this one. Together. I rejoice in the mighty freedom of my true self. Now, some of you sat there and said, I rejoice in the mighty freedom. So this time, this time, perhaps we couldn't say it with our full heart and mean it. How about that? Let's go together. I rejoice in my mighty freedom of my true self. Feel that spirit moving within you saying, oh, yeah. That ember being fanned into a flame. This is the supreme spiritual stand that we can take and that we must take. It recorded in the book, the 5th chapter of the book of John, is a time when Jesus journeyed to the pool at Bethesda. Now, it was said that this pool was a healing place and that regularly angels of God would stir up the waters in that pool, and whoever got into the water when that happened was healed of whatever their affliction. So Jesus went there, and when he did, there were lots and lots of hurting and sick people around. He was particularly drawn to one man. The man was lame, and he had been laying by that pool for 38 years. 38 years. I'd say there's a bit of procrastination going on there, or resistance at some level. And so Jesus went to this particular person, and he kind of bluntly confronted him by saying, will you be made whole? In other words, what's going on? Are you willing? Are you willing to rise up and be whole? Well, the man replied in sometimes a typical human way with his excuses. And he said, well, sir, I have no one to put me in the pool when the water is stirred up, and someone always gets in before I can. So obviously, that's his story of limitation, which he has been living over and over and over again. And we have a capacity to live out stories of limitation over and over and over again. I mean, for goodness sakes, it occurs to me that if he even perched himself at the very ledge of the pool, he could at least roll over into it when the waters were stirred up. But something about how he designed his experience was saying, it's just not possible, and everybody gets in my way, and it just doesn't work out for me. But you know what? Jesus didn't even respond to any of that. He didn't respond to how this guy had spent 38 years not fully involved in his healings. And he simply said, rise, take up your bed and walk. Take up thy bed and walk. And the man did, and he was made well. Illustrating for us symbolically that higher energy of consciousness teamed with action can overcome inertia and self-pity and all that keeps us imprisoned. Because it's not what we face that imprisons us as much as our own stories and our own inertia and how we get down on ourselves and believe more in the problem, more in the situation than the mighty Spirit of the living presence within us. So we can all get shackled and limited in this life, absolutely. And at the same time, we're all sitting beside an infinite pool of intelligence and ideas and possibilities. At the same time, we feel shackled. We're right by this sea of possibility. And we then can open to that, unless we're stuck in our excuses, and lift up the power of the situation over the power of something deeper within us. Now, Jesus represents the higher self, the God self, our spiritual natures, Christ consciousness within us, Christ within us, our hope of glory, it says. And that Christ energy from time to time will come to us even when we're stuck in our stuff and say, hey, you ready now? You ready for a prison break? You ready to say yes to something so fundamental and true about you? A light that will not go out. Indeed, our freedom is often just a step of willingness away. Let me also share with you about the most important person and gift in my life. And that is my beloved Erica. She's here somewhere, well disguised from me. I can't find her out there. Oh, good. Erica shared with me a story, and I've written about it in my book. It touched me so deeply. It was about a time in 1985. It began in 1985 when her first husband, Mark, died in dealing with leukemia. So there was Erica, a single mom now, with 2 boys, 3 and 6 years old. So Erica responded amid her grieving by being very strong and keeping things together. She had a circle of friends that she and Mark had developed, and they were good to her and supported her. And she kept moving on with the typical courage that I know of her. After about a year, she met a fellow and started a new relationship. But she shared with me that, it was nice. And I enjoyed him, but it wasn't what I had and it wasn't what I wanted. But then again, I had it. And so over the next year, she experienced a circle of friends and her growing sense of, I don't know if I want to stay in this circle of friends in my next chapter. And I don't know if that's the energy I want the boys growing up in. And I don't know about this relationship. But then the inner battles would go on that we might all have had in similar ways. Like, well, it's so hard to break up. It's so difficult to make change, especially when others would be astounded and disappointed in you and tell you you're wrong. It's just so tough. And so this tug of war was going on within her. Something in her saying, yeah, but I want more. So she would often pack up the boys and take them from Houston down to Galveston to the beach. And they'd play in the beach, and she had her free time. And one day she was there, the boys were playing, and she was reflecting and thinking about this that was going on, that insistent something that said this isn't enough. And she had a shift in consciousness, which she now calls her cloud talk. It was as though she went to a place where she had died in her own thinking. She had died, and she was sitting on a puffy white cloud and looking down upon her life. And she could see that her life had gone this way, and it could continue on the same way. And it'd be all right. But then she saw another path. And that path wasn't entirely clear, but it had energy. It had possibility. And then the old tapes of, yeah, but I still have all this. And it's okay. But then a part of her said these words: all you have to do, Erica, is leave. All you have to do is get in your car and drive away. That hit her. And within a couple of weeks, she made arrangements. She didn't really know where she wanted to go. She just knew that life was saying it's time. And she thought of maybe Florida, maybe Denver, and decided, I'll give Denver a shot. So she scheduled 3 days to be in Denver, and if she found a rental home in those 3 days, she'd stay. If not, who knows? Thank God, on 9 p.m. on the third day, she walked into an oddly painted house and loved it and rented it from the couple. Then, within a couple of weeks, she had all of her belongings packed up and shipped out here. Then she went and turned her van in and bought a huge Chevy four-wheel drive Blazer, because of course she was going to snow country with 2 boys. And she got in that Blazer and did what that guidance had said. She simply left. Yeah, among the hue and cry of many around her, but she left. It wasn't easy. She told me she cried all the way from Houston to Dallas, and then she drove in a better state all the way to Denver. But she left. And then she got here and set up house, and then somebody told her about a rather odd and unique church at Alameda and Garrison. And she had begun studying metaphysics, so she gave it a shot. The second Sunday she was here. She walked out the doors of the Vote Center and came through my line, and It all began. It all began. And so, a lot of things go on within us, I know, when we think of that. But I tell you what, that to me is how we can be called to live. And her story gives us the second and third point that I want to share with you, gifts I want to give you. And that second one is embrace your heart's purpose now, not later. Having stirred up a sense of your free spirit, no matter what's going on, then search your heart. What am I about? Not necessarily what specific things do you want to go do, unless you know. But what's my inner purpose here? Maybe it's to grow through this experience. Maybe it's to say yes to a higher calling. What's my heart's purpose? Okay, what's the stirrings within my heart? It's about the opportunity to connect with our deepest, most fervent, most passionate why in this life. Why am I here? What's my next opportunity? Now the ego wants to know exactly where we're headed, what it's going to look like, how it's going to all unfold, or we're going to stay put. And that's why a guy stays by a pool for 38 years. But I remind you, Erica didn't know where she was going to go. And she had no idea what would happen. What she had was a newfound commitment to her purpose. A bigger, better life for herself and our boys. And we'd meet and marry, and I'd adopt those boys and love them to the core of my being. And I give thanks that she didn't let all the yeah buts in her and around her sweep that purpose under the rug. And then the third thing that extends from her beautiful actions, brave your higher path now. Brave your higher path now. Instead of waiting in a bed of excuses and reasons why, take the first steps that you can take, even if you don't know the end. Take the first steps. Trust that something's going to mold you, lead you, guide you, shape you, inspire you, strengthen you. We're called to purpose-fueled trust walk in this life. A purpose-fueled trust walk. But here's what I know, is that free spirit in us, fueled by a heartfelt purpose and the willingness to step forward, our boldest, bravest steps toward what is best for us, will prosper us, support us, grow us, and make us lights in this world. Something brought you here to church today, maybe at a deeper level than you would have thought. But it's maybe to hear somebody who loves you say, you're incredible. You're not defined by what you have ever faced or by what you face now. And you're also not imprisoned by it. The situation may not change. It took a while for Franco to get free. It took a while for the Israelites to free themselves from Babylonia. But you stay the course. You step boldly forward, and you will see yourself step to a new level of strength, clarity, and power. And then you'll know, hey, I can have that joy that nothing extinguishes, because there's no thing in this world that can ultimately contain me. Not discouragement, not defeat, not death, nothing can contain nor limit the spirit of the I am that I am in me. And thus, as the poet wrote and declared, it is well with my soul. Right now. Let's take this into prayer. Oh, precious ones, breathe deeply. And with an out breath, sense that you're shedding the sense of weightiness, a sense of chains, if there are those that seem to bind. And take another deep breath and let your shoulders fall back and your heart be elevated. A new posture of possibility. And sense that precious, beautiful heart. Let your energy be there in your sacred portal that leads to the sanctuary of your being, your heart. And feel it warming, quickening. Let your breathing become a natural, gentle rhythm. A rhythm of peace. And sense, no, I am that which the Spirit has created me to be. I am this free spirit. I am free and abundant and powerful consciousness. I may go through many things in a lifetime, yet none of them diminishes me, nor imprisons me. And therefore I no longer grieve the Spirit, as it is written, but I celebrate. I celebrate truth in the midst of it all. And thus I am becoming mighty in the midst in this moment. I celebrate. I feel some energy rising within me, opening me further to the directives and the vision of my heart. Be with your heart there. What's its deepest direction? And you may not know all of the ifs, ands, and whereabouts and details. And yet, it can lead you there. And receive its initial gift of spiritual assurance, comfort and strength. For you still are glorious spirit, precious, beautiful, God-ordained spirit. And nothing ever diminishes that. And you can hitch your wagon to that energy and see where it takes you. This is the healing space of God's love received and activated in our heart of hearts. And thus I know with great joy the sanctity and the sacred essence of spirit embodied in each and every one here, each and every one everywhere. And I know that sacred spirit is a light that can never go out. I know it's shining in this place ever so brightly. I know you carry it forward from this place into your circumstances, into your relationships, into whatever is going on in your life. And the light shines brightly in the darkness, comprehendeth it not. And the way is made clear. Feel the joy in this. Feel the deep joy of this homecoming. And we stand in trust that from this place of being free, we are guided forward to become even more fully embodied spiritual beings. So I give thanks for the shifts, for the healings, for the changes that naturally are the byproduct of this. I give thanks for the healings of mind, body, emotions, and situations, for you, for me, for all who are receptive. that the glory of our souls might shine forth ever so brightly. Now I know this is truth active in us right now. We leave as free spirit, ready to create, to choose, to savor the miracle of life. Thank you, all-giving Spirit, for this and more than words can say. May we celebrate and be grateful. And so we now let it be, releasing this art of consciousness into expression to grow and abound in, through, and as us. And so it is. And amen.